can compare with the thrill of a brand new bike. Those long days of wishing and waiting are finally over, and the proud new owner can look forward to enjoying his bike in many ways.
So, how long have you been collecting for?
Collecting started when I was very young. I was probably around 8 years old. I got into collecting bicycles from the 70s, stick shift bicycles.
And those are the ones that you used to ride when you were a kid, right?
Well, I always wanted some of those, but the one I got didn't have a stick shift. As you get older in life, you kind of revert back to your childhood, and you kind of want to amass the things that you may not have had, when you were a kid. But I'm just bit by the bug of collecting, and I think I've passed that on to my daughters now.
You did indeed. You did.
So I have been going to the Grafton Flea Market with my dad ever since I was a young child. We would venture around all the different booths and he would buy a bunch of different little items. He collects a lot of things that remind him of his childhood, and I guess that was always something that I really admired about the idea of collecting. Now that I have this appreciation for clowns, my dad will take any excuse to collect things for me, usually clown related. It's funny because people ask me why do I have an interest in collecting clowns? And I don't have a distinct answer. I think there's something really so interesting about the history of clowns. They were meant to bring so much joy to people, and it's funny to think about people's associations with them in relationship to how I view them, because I know it's not the social norm for people to appreciate them in that light, but I think there needs to be that reclamation because they've been really screwed over in recent history.
High above the shouting, celebrating guests of the carnival we soar, swinging through the sky like a left-handed seagull, always in the same direction. Back to Earth again, and another look for new adventure.
Brimfield is 3 times a year. It's in Western Mass. People from all around the world come to this. It's the biggest flea market in the world. It's just neat to see the crowds and what people are interested in collecting. Just a lot of crazy stuff.
It's also the beauty of Brimfield because it is just this vast community of people that just really appreciate the art of collecting and sustaining these unique items. I've been going here my entire life and I have never seen it all. Never.
No, I believe that. It's a very generational thing, I think, for you and I, of grandmothers, so you pick out your own stuff, and then it's like, oh, I can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many sellers or vintage fans that got into it because of that exact, pathway, and it's kind of interesting because it makes me wonder, with the loss of the art of sewing and constructing your own pieces, what is going to happen when, a lot of folks that are coming up that are younger.
That's why I appreciate mending so much, because, you don't want to lose those things just because you can't repurpose them.
Exactly. It's so true.
We got this from a guy who, in the late 60s, early 70s, he was working in television at that point. So if you look, the thing has a little TV patch, which is cool.
Oh, word.
And he had given us a bunch of cool stuff. But I don't know, this is a weird connection to something that I don't... Old TV stuff is really cool to me, so I really love this.
Do you like TV? Old TV?
I do, for sure. Yeah. I grew up watching, my dad would put on, Johnny Carson and stuff, so all those old, NBC shows and stuff is really cool to me.
So is that patch from the 60s? Or?
It is. It's probably, so he said it's 1968, 1969, somewhere in there. But you could see how much he loved the jacket. I mean, the guy must have worn it every day for, years and years to get this sort of wear, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, is there a reason that you were a fan of Snoopy growing up?
I think I must have watched one of the Charlie Brown Christmases first. And Snoopy, you know, he's got a clever, sneaky side that I feel like as a child, like, he seemed cool, which is funny because he's a dog. In my own life, I feel like I have all the memories of watching those specials with my family and my friends, and I still watch them today, even though I've seen them a million times. And I feel like it reminds you of kind of a childhood or a time where like Halloween or Thanksgiving, you know, is like the biggest, most exciting thing. Thanksgiving, I have this tradition of always going to see these same two families since I think I was 2, when we often would watch the Charlie Brown specials. I feel like it brings me back to that time too. It's like we're all in these different parts of our lives, but that moment is still kind of exists of all of us together. And I feel like Snoopy really, and the Snoopy sweater, like can bring me there.
I think directly in my association to antiques and my relationship to antiques through my father, that I kind of got more into really old antique clothing items, specifically from the like Renaissance and Victorian era, because being able to find these things that have been able to maintain its shape throughout such an expansive period of time and be able to wear and admire those items is, I think, something that's so beautiful and forces you to reflect on the past and our relationships to history in connection to our present.